To watch my presentation on the social exchange theory. So we'll start by watching this video. It's only about 3 minutes, if that. It'll cut off after, but you'll get the gist of what I want you to see.
Can you think of someone that used to be your friend but whom you never see anymore? How many people would you say have left your life, even if they were at some point very important to you? It's a fact of life that not all friendships or romances last forever. But why? Why do we stay connected with some people but not to others? In another lesson, we discuss the fact that an equal exchange of benefits is desirable, and perceived inequality puts a relationship in jeopardy. However, there is another theory used to explain why we choose to start and continue only certain relationships. Social exchange theory proposes that the relationships we choose to create and maintain are the ones that maximize our rewards and minimize our costs. According to this, we are more self-centered and not necessarily concerned with equality. The basic idea is that relationships that give us the most benefits for the least amount of effort are the ones we value the most and are likely to keep long term. It is important to note that social exchange theory is a bit more complex than a simple economic model of costs and rewards. It actually suggests that we feel positively or negatively about our relationships because of a combination of three factors. 1. Cost-benefit analysis, 2. Comparison level, and 3. Comparison level of alternatives. Let's go over the definition of each one of these components. First, a cost-benefit analysis is a process for calculating the value of a relationship in terms of potential rewards and costs. The potential costs of a relationship are those things that we see as negative: being needy, annoying habits, and so on. The rewards or benefits of a relationship are those things that we see as positive: desirable personality traits, physical attractiveness, how we feel when we are around him or her, and so on. This cost-benefit analysis is the economic model that can predict or keep track of our net rewards and the overall value of the relationship. For example, imagine that Bridget Bachelorette is trying to decide between 3 potential suitors. Bridget conducts a cost-benefit analysis and determines the initial value of each potential relationship by subtracting the perceived costs from the perceived benefits. She chooses the suitor with the best results, which happens to be Brad Batchelor. She may dislike his lack of money and quick temper, but feels that the benefits — he is handsome, caring, and fun to be around — outweigh the costs. According to social exchange theory, we use a cost-benefit analysis at the beginning of a relationship to help us decide if we want to start it. However, we also continue to use cost-benefit analysis as the relationship develops to decide if we want to continue it. The same is true of the other 2 components of social exchange theory mentioned earlier: comparison level and...
Okay, so moving on, you have to buy the rest of that video, but I really just like the beginning of it. So, moving on to more about social exchange theory. Changingminds.org simplified the social exchange theory to this quote here: all relationships have a give and take, although the balance of this exchange is not always equal. So examples of this could include the relationships we saw in the video on the previous slide, but could also be buying gifts for someone but not receiving anything in return, in terms of either a return gift or simply gratitude. Verywell.com also evaluates this theory when it comes to relationships, saying that people weigh the potential benefits and risks of social relationships. When the risks outweigh the rewards, people will terminate or abandon that relationship. So, social exchange theory background. Who's responsible for this theory? So, George Homans, he was a sociologist in the 1950s and 1960s, and his perceptions were rooted in behavioral psychology but also economic thinking of the time period. He enlisted 5 propositions which he believed guided human behavior. The success proposition: the more you're rewarded, the more likely you are to do that action again. The stimulus proposition: if you've been rewarded as a result of some action and a similar action comes up, you're likely to perform in the same way, expecting a reward as you did prior. The deprivation satiation proposition: the more often we've received an award, the less valuable any further unit of that reward is. So if we keep getting the same reward over and over, we'll eventually not want it anymore. The value proposition: the more valuable the result, the more likely we are to perform it. And the rationality proposition: so when choosing actions, a person will choose the action that has a higher probability of receiving a better result. The next one, John Thibault and Harold Kelly, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, but they really focused on the small group and individual choices within that and interpersonal situations with dependence among the social actors. Peter Blau, he was also a sociologist, focused much on functional conflict and symbolic interaction, which we've learned about previously. Blau is famous for saying, "Exchange is the tool of the powerful to extract compliance of others." He references 2 transactions: economic exchanges and social exchanges. So those economic exchanges are quid pro quo, expect quick repayment, and characterized by individual self-interest. So what we typically think of with economics: you give me money, I give you the product. Social exchanges are more open-ended and longer term. But what separates these is the issue of obligation. So what am I committing to, and how am I going to get repaid for what I commit to? Richard Emerson is one of the newer ones, 1980s. He didn't really refer to this as a theory per se, but more as a framework. He combined much of the work of Hellmans and Blau and expanded on their ideas. He developed what is known as the power dependence theory as an approach. Did not ask who has the power, but rather what entailed in relations of power. So his focuses were a lot on who has the power in relationships. So moving on to our 3 main principles of social exchange theory. So the cost versus the benefits. At the beginning of every relationship and throughout it, just like that video said, we evaluate the cost versus the benefits. The difference in the costs and the benefits will show the value of that specific relationship. Again, this is reevaluated as the relationship continues on. So costs are referred to as the negatives, what we don't like, possibly the punishments from actions. Benefits and rewards, as defined by Talbot and Kelly. Rewards are defined as the pleasures, satisfactions, and gratifications that a person enjoys from participating in a relationship. So just like Bridget Bachelorette, Brad's costs of having no money, being easily angered, are outweighed by being handsome, caring, and able to have fun. Expectations and comparisons are what we expect from the relationship, as well as how that relationship may compare to others. One way to look at this is what individuals feel is deserved and realistically attainable within relationships. And second, what individuals feel is important for them to experience within a relationship. The next one, the last one, is evaluating alternatives. So your assessment basically on the outcomes available in an alternative compared to your present relationship. So if an alternative relationship poses more benefits, one is likely to leave the current one and move on to something else. This can sometimes explain why individuals stay in abusive relationships. They don't think that the alternatives will be better. So how can we apply this to communication today? How many of you have left a website because it isn't responding fast enough? I can attest to that one. So we may not have reacted the same way 10 years ago because the expectation of our web use was different. That being said, our relationship with the website can be evaluated using the social exchange theory. So we'll walk through this. We log into our computers and go onto the internet. Most of the time, we aren't just surfing the web anymore. We have a purpose. We're looking for something. So let's say I want to find a new door handle for my door. So we'll go through the costs and benefits, expectations, and alternatives for that. So my costs in this case are time searching, time waiting, not being able to physically touch anything, possibly being diverted, pop-ups bothering me on the web, Benefits are saving gas and time by not having to drive to the store or multiple stores, ordering from the comfort of my home, having the item delivered right to me. My expectations, realistically, I expect to find something that I like that I can simply order. Again, if I'm diverted and asked to fill out this form or that form, I will probably get frustrated and just leave the site. Alternatives. Online, there's always other places to look, other websites, but maybe the quality of the products aren't as good. Maybe the site is harder to navigate. These are all things to consider when evaluating the social exchange relationship involved. So, as I was going through those, for any of you thinking of a website, hopefully you were, and maybe that was Amazon. So, a little background on Amazon, since that's the company I chose to evaluate. Jeff Bezos founded Amazon in 1994, and Amazon launched in 1995 as an online bookstore, but then quickly added DVDs, video games, electronics, and clothing that we are more than likely familiar with today. In 1999, Jeff won Person of the Year from Time magazine, mainly due to his success with Amazon and its growth of the online shopping market. Amazon is a company that prides itself in ownership from its team as well as putting customers first. With that being said, it's no surprise that it's the 8th largest retailer in the world, after, of course, Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, and a few others, but it is the top online retailer in the world. So, analyzing Amazon a little bit, how do they do it? This here is their mission statement. So, our vision is to be Earth's most customer-centric company, to build a place where people can come to find and discover anything they might want to buy online. So, applying the social exchange theory to Amazon. Amazon is an economic business, which is where some of the basis for this theory came from. So, it is actually the physical exchange of goods. I pay you, you give me the product, but I think Amazon goes beyond that. Amazon caters to our needs, which can definitely fall in the benefits category. For example, Amazon tracks what we buy, gives us suggested items, and this is a great benefit to us. The costs, again, with Amazon are low because waiting for the item to ship is not that big of a deal. They back their products and ensure that you're happy, and they have great customer service. So, again, another benefit to outweigh the cost. When we use Amazon, we're expecting, so our expectations, to search for the item, find the item, and check out with that item in a timely manner. If for whatever reason that doesn't happen, we're likely to get frustrated. So at that point, that's when we would evaluate other alternatives. However, we can also rely on online reviews provided by other customers to have these realistic expectations of the items we're receiving, so we're not blindly expecting something that's just not realistic. Amazon has set up such high standards for itself, as well as other websites, when it comes to buying things, especially when we know what we're looking for. The item is usually at the top of the list. Therefore, this process is typically quick and easy, which is why it has become expected. So, alternatives. Simply put, I was trying to come up with some, and I just thought, what alternatives? When we compare Amazon to other sites, it almost seems pointless, especially with 2-day shipping with a Prime membership. There's another benefit and literal cost, but again, totally worth it. So, looking at this from a social exchange theory perspective, Amazon is amazing. So, another point worth mentioning, which I don't think I have too much time for, is that you have the ability to sell items on Amazon as well. I used to sell my old textbooks from Amazon. So this is another cost-benefit relationship there. So analyzing continued. Their website is where their roots are. They're expanding, which I'll get to in the next slide. The relationship that their website has formed with their customers has hardly any costs. And by cost, again, I mean negatives. The site is easy to navigate. The design is sleek, not too much, not too little. The recommendations for you are right there when accessing the site, along with interactive pieces to keep your interest and to also show what their featured items are. It's easy to sign in and create an account, remembers logins and credit cards if you ask it to, and overall there's not a whole lot Amazon can do to improve its website. Social media, particularly Facebook. Amazon's presence can create a bond with its customers. This is another benefit for us as the customers. Easy communication with the company that hardly comes with any cost. This prevents us looking for alternatives. Although some comments are negative, Amazon's presence creates a way to repair the relationship before it can be replaced with something else. So, to the future, Amazon's continuing to advance as the world around us advances. Prime Now is a prime example of this advancement. So, you can have your items delivered to you within 2 hours in certain cities. Costs and benefits of this, low cost, virtually none besides the time spent shopping. It costs more for Amazon probably to get them to us, but the benefits have risen again. Now I can be more satisfied by not having to wait 2 whole days, and I can also have food delivered with Prime Now. Expectations, there's really nothing like it, so we can only expect what Amazon tells us to. And alternatives, again, there's nothing like Prime Now. So for other companies, increasing online presence and responses through social media is an incredible way to increase this relationship and the benefits perceived by others. If you feel connected to a company, you're more likely to buy from them. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat have all really opened these doors for this interaction to take place. When it comes to websites, we like simple and easy to navigate. So that being said, I may suggest that Amazon simplify maybe just a little. I don't think that there's too much or too little. So simplifying it seems really hard with so much to offer. This would be a good attempt at balancing the simple yet informative for them. Another thing we think of when it comes to social exchange theory and how it can apply to other companies is, why should I continue the relationship with you and your business instead of going elsewhere? So offering more to their customer base, possibly through email, a simple $5 off or free 2-day shipping if they're not Amazon Prime members, or a simple thank you email that maybe offers $1 or percentage amount off the next purchase. Many women's online boutiques, like this one here, is a sign up and receive a 10% off your first purchase. So what a benefit. All I have to do is give my email. So overall, I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation. Here's some references if you want to look at those. And I hope you enjoy your reading and your LD